Hello again, YouTube viewers. Coming back with a second review after my long hiatus, and yes, that is a zero tolerance 0562 CF carbon fiber handle, obviously sitting in front of us. It is from the second run of these that they just released, so yeah, I waited on this knife for a year, and it was worth the wait. I looked at the M390 late production prototypes last year at Blade, missed out on them in September. The run that just came out very end of May, very beginning of June, that is just hitting dealers now with the Carpenter CTS-204P blade steel. Same thing as M390, just US made version by Carpenter instead of Bowler of Germany. It's here. I've had it for 3 days now. I really like it. I knew I was getting into the issue. I pointed this out on the 801 Rexford ZT video I just did. The pivot, it's a known issue. The known issue, for those of you not familiar, Kai USA ZT likes to use this really cool looking decorative pivot. Problem is, this backside, this female side, is not restrained by anything. It can spin freely. This one has been Loctited well from the factory. So again, just like my 801, I've not personally had a problem with this pivot. I've flipped this knife a ton. I do know that when the day comes that I have to open this up to clean it, or maybe if I need to add some more lubricant directly onto that ball bearing pivot, I'm going to have to break the Loctite from the factory, and I'm going to have to re-Loctite this thing, and it's going to have to, you know, not be in my pocket and not be used for up to 24 hours while the Loctite fully cures. So that's that. I noted, again, part of the first impressions in the other video that I did. When I say the other video, that being the 801 Rexford video, that this knife is about 20 thousandths thinner than the 801 Rexford, and that 20 thousandths plus the actual radiusing here of the carbon fiber as opposed to the beveling on the titanium handle side has made all the difference in the world as far as carry, as far as how it feels in the pocket. It's funny, a good friend of mine is an engineer, mechanical engineer, and I handed him both knives and I said, is it just me, or does this carbon fiber model just feel a lot thinner? And yeah, and we mic'd them on the spot with dial calipers, and he agreed that despite it being 20 thousandths thinner, I think it's actually 17 thousandths to be exact, the 562 feels a lot thinner than the 801. So that's a big plus. The weights are very close. I don't have that in front of me. They're near identical. So yeah, that's great. So again, criticism, the pivot I knew I was getting into. The only minor little subjective things I do not like about this knife, because nothing's perfect. Hinderer kind of likes to do this shark fin looking flipper. Kind of comes to a point right there. It took me a little getting used to. At first it kind of had a almost digging into the finger, but now it's fine. This knife is also, and I'll see if I can get the camera to focus on it. So we come around, you can see, yeah, that is a really deep detent, or deep, yeah, it's a deep detent for the ball bearing in here on the lock bar face to go into. So I had to flip it a lot to kind of smooth that out a bit. Now it's opening much easier after 2 days of constant flipping. Otherwise, despite being kind of a jaded knife guy and going, I'm going to order this to hedge my bets just in case I can't find anything, or couldn't make it to Blade this year for the first time in 3 years. Had some buddies looking for stuff. Yeah, I'm going to hedge my bets in case they can't find anything. Because what I wanted was a ball bearing flipper that was a little thinner in the pocket with a thinner ground blade, and I did want to try M390-204P because everything I've read and watched indicates that it sharpens much more like S30V or S35VN versus LMAX, which, again, not hard to sharpen, very time consuming. This should be much easier to sharpen in a few months whenever I have to sharpen this, because all of these super steels are known for crazy edge retention. I'll update and let y'all know how it did. How does it do on freehand touch-ups on a DMT diafold? How does it do on a wicked edge? We'll see. But yeah, it's much thinner. Don't have calipers right in front of me, but if I remember correctly, if I measured this correctly, and if the measurements I've seen on forums and on some other YouTube videos are correct, this is just as thin behind the edge as a Spyderco Paramilitary 2, which was a knife that I really liked, other than some problems with the pocket clip and some difficulties with Spyderco customer service. Maybe I'll talk about that at some point. Anyway, that aside, it's thin. It cuts really well. I've already done some cutting with it, both, opening mail, doing a couple test cuts on cardboard, and doing some, work around the house, doing a little brush clearing, doing a little, cutting little stragglers off the shrubs during a church cleanup day, church work day out front, when the sickle bar gas-powered trimmer didn't get a couple of stragglers that were close to the ground. Popped this guy out Saturday morning. Did the job. So I'm definitely happy. The immediate observation of that thinner grind on the steels made a huge difference in cutting, slicing performance. So, very happy with that. The carbon fiber looks pretty. I am a righty, so I have not had to reverse the clip, but it does have a really cool clip system that there's actually a little tiny metal spacer, hopefully you can see that, between the barrel spacer, and it fills this little gap here in the titanium liner, and there's that same amount of spacing that the pocket clip fills on the titanium frame side. So if this needs to be flipped, this whole assembly will come out with the Torx screws, both sides, and the whole assembly will flip around. So then the metal spacer will go on the frame side. So cool little bit of engineering. I praised the 801 Rexford for its total lack of jimping. I will praise this knife for its conservative use of jimping. The jimping is not fully across the frame on the bottom here, as you can see, and it only extends, it's only on the scale and does not, it's only on the, the titanium liner, does not extend into the carbon fiber scale. So that's great. The only other jimping to be found on the knife is on the top of the blade. They did not extend the jimping down into the handle, which I really like. So other little criticisms, you can kind of slowly push on the flipper with your thumb resting right against the thumb stud and then manually open it. These are not supposed to be thumb studs. They are strictly blade stops. So because this knife is so heavily detented and because the blade stop thumb studs are so deeply down in the handle, you cannot manually open it with the studs. There's just not enough traction. Maybe I can do it with a pinch grip. I can't even do it with a pinch grip. So you're going to have to get it started with the flipper and then gently open it. So opening it slowly is a little bit difficult. Some guys don't like when the flipper comes down and hits your thumb when you're in the release position. I actually like that because it lets me then get my finger the rest of the way out of the way and close it, versus if it was free swinging, it'd be pretty easy for that blade to swing down. I've gotten used to it probably on my Rexford, so I don't have any problem with it on this one. Get them while you can, folks. Like I said, this is only the second run ZT has made of these. I'm impressed. First impressions on 2 days of the slicer grind. It's an uncommon ZT, so even if you lightly use it or you don't use it, if you don't like it, you're going to lose little, if any, money if market conditions hold true like they have in the past on ZTs. So, anyway, that's my first impressions. I'm glad I bought it. Glad I sold some less expensive stuff I'd done some other reviews on, or had planned to do reviews on, and got my hands on this while I could. Again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, if you so wish. Like the video if it's been helpful to you, please. Questions, comments, leave them below in the comments section. Again, please make sure your privacy settings are set to allow me to respond to you if you do leave me a question or you have a comment you'd like me to respond to. Otherwise, I have to do a general reply, and that is in your Universal Google account settings, I think under Google+. But that's it. I hope the video has been helpful. Y'all have a blessed night.